The chair of torture had several spikes on it. It ranged from 500 to 1,500 spikes. The spikes were covered the back, armrest, seat, leg rest, and footsteps. It was a terrible device in the Middle Ages. To avoid movement, the wrists were cuffed and the legs were cuffed as well. This is the pear of anguish. It was a way to torture women who conducted miscarriages, people who lied, and homosexuals. The pear-shaped instrument was inserted into the victim's vagina. The anus for homosexuals and the mouth for liars consisted of 4 leaves that slowly separated from each other. The torturer would then turn the screw at the top, and it would tear the skin or it would expand. This right here is the head crusher. The chin was placed over the bottom bar and the head under the upper cap. The torturer would then slowly turn the screw, pressing the bar against the cap. The teeth were shattered into the jaw, then the victim slowly dies with pain. Eyes were then squeezed out of their sockets and it made the victims confess.
The Branks torture helmet was used to keep people from talking, and it was also used on women who talked back to their husband. Thumbscrew torture was them using a small device that was used to break fingers, and they also had many variants that were used to break toes and also knees. This form of torture was impaling, and it was used for execution as well as torture, and it was also the impaling penetration of a spike or pole in the human body.
So today we're going to be talking about Raisin Balls. The first creator was the first victim after, he showed it to the emperor. It has little horns in it that when you scream, it makes it sound like a bull. Yay! Next torture device is the Spanish Inquisition. While they are not a torture device, they implemented many of them. And their objective was the detection of heretics and the protection of orthodoxy. One of their main aspects was the burning of books that the church thought was a heresy, The next form of torture is the Iron Maiden. While disputed whether or not it was used during the Middle Ages, it would consist of a metal sarcophagus little thing that stands up, where someone would stand aside with different spikes poking them at small lengths, so it wouldn't cause instant death, but also would pierce vital organs like the eyes and heart.
The boiling is one torture mechanism that would boil the person alive, and they would use water or even oil. The rack is a torture device consisting of a rectangular, unusual wooden frame slightly raised off the ground with a roller at both ends. The victim's ankles were fastened to one roller and their wrists were chained to the other, and they would tear the body apart. If he or she refused to talk, the torturer would either add more weight to the victim to make him or her fall repeatedly on the device. The triangular-shaped end on the Judas cradle was inserted into the victim's anus or vagina. This torture could last, depending on some factors discussed below, anywhere from a few hours to complete days.